time to start this webinar. Okay. I hope everybody can see the presentation and hear me well. If not, feel free to text me or my colleague in the chat box, or if you have any trouble to access sound of or image, please disconnect and connect again to the webinar. Welcome everybody. Welcome to this webinar that will give you information about the open call SIOMPA. So SIOMPA is for Southwest Indian Ocean Marine Protected Areas and ecological connectivity to maximize biodiversity conservation. So I am Antoine Morisot. I'm the project manager of this joint call and coordination and call secretariat too. And I will introduce this webinar. Also here is maybe not yet, but soon, Maurice Serral as international manager of this call, and one of my colleagues, Dimitrino, as project officer too. So basically, you cannot speak during the webinar, but feel free to use the chat box during the presentation to ask your questions. We will do our best to answer you next to the presentation, and if not, we will answer you by mail following the webinar, okay? So this webinar will be recorded and displayed on the SIOMPA joint call webpage in the next days. And again, if we cannot answer all of your questions during this webinar, we will answer you by mail. So thank you again for being here today. So here's a few points about the following webinar. First, few words on the agenda of the joint call, then reminders about the general background of the call, but also the scientific framework. Then a focus on procedures and criteria such as global eligibility rules and evaluation process. Then we will finish through a quick overview of the instructions for the proposal and the question and answer session. So to remind you, the INR will support the coordination, the implementation, and the secretariat of this joint call in collaboration with the funding organizations involved in the call. We will show them later. So the agenda of the call. So as you know, the call is now open. All documents are available on the SIOMPA webpage, and the submission website is also open. The call will close November 30 at 2 p.m. So be very careful about this deadline, because the submission website will close at 2 p.m. Central European Time, and no proposal and pendings or any information will be taken beyond the deadline. Okay, so that is very important for you to respect this deadline. So next to that closure of the submission website, we'll do the eligibility check. That is a very important step to the call. And we plan to perform the evaluation until February of the next year to allow granted project to start at the end of the first semester. So the general background of this joint call is first, of course, the fact that the SWIO is well recognized as a spot of biodiversity, and it is home to many especially fragmented marine protected areas, so MPA, which are essential to the conservation. So the research program will be based on the networking on numerous MPAs. The idea is to promote increased interaction between MPA governing bodies that would also provide a means to raise community awareness in or near marine, ice seas, and coastal protected areas. So we plan here to merge a wide range from scientific disciplines, from physical, biological, and ecological sciences to human, social, and economic sciences. So it is expected that projects developed from this collaborative research call will pay particular attention to the network of existing MPA or planned marine protected reserve in the SWIO, with the objective of contributing to regional public policies for the establishment and management of these networks. So where that's, of course, a question. In the Mozambique Channel, close to the Mozambique Channel, close to the Mascarenes archipelagos, such as La Réunion Island and Mauritius Island, so those areas, and also around Madagascar. Here is the list of the funding organization that will support the joint call. So many thanks to them, many thanks to their involvement to that joint call. So the call is supported by France with Agence Nationale de la Recherche and Agence Française de Développement, with South Africa with the National Research Foundation, with Kenya with the National Research Fund, with Tanzania with the Commission for Science and Technology, and with Mozambique with the Fondo Nacional de Investigação. So, as you may know, and maybe you already checked in the documents available on the SIOMPA webpage, but the AFD, so Agence Française de Développement, will be able to cover research team from Madagascar, Comoros, and Mauritius. So, the scientific framework of this joint call. For the scientific framework, there's 4 different questions. The first one is, how can we harmonize environmental monitoring? So that question must be understood in the perspective of long-term monitoring, and this may include designing spatial temporal monitoring of different biotic and abiotic variables, okay, with a particular focus that could be made on remarkable species and or habitats. In second point, develop assessment tools and indicators to establish a diagnosis of the state of the ecosystem and the evolution, and then develop new autonomous or eco-responsible and connected biological, chemical, or physical sensors. That's the first huge question. Second one is, how are the ecosystems of the region structured and or connected? So you can go through the modeling of the circulations to identify links between regional ecosystems and their MPAs. It could be focused on study the connectivity between those ecosystems and or species in a biogeographic context. So of course, this connectivity may be examined from different angles and studied from an active or passive point of view. And third, establish a link on a biogeographic scale between the networks of MPAs and the structuring of the ecosystem and associated connectivity mechanism. The next question is, what are the various anthropogenic impacts and what measures should be proposed? So this question has to be understood in the context of accelerated development of anthropogenic activities in the region. So management proposal will be made to reduce impact and risk. The work will be able to relate in particular to the characterization and mapping of anthropic pressures that are exerted on the region's ecosystem, okay? So evaluation of associated impacts on ecosystem services, and then proposal for management modalities and measures to move towards sustainability of activities at the local, at the regional scale, and particularly with regard to the impact of offshore activities, etc. Then the last question, what are the links between the ecological state of the ecosystems, protection measures, and the human population of the socio-ecosystems concerned? So for that question, 4 sub-questions. So first, understand the context and characterize the consideration of local perceptions and local knowledge in monitoring tools, in decision related to management. Study the practice and social representation of the local neighboring population that use the marine environment. study the processes leading to the social and economic acceptability of environmental policies, in particular the establishment of management of APAs for the countries in the region, such as participatory research, the construction of scenarios, knowledge sharing, mediation, etc. And then develop a flexible approach on the actors taking decision in the region and on the decision process. So with legal aspect, policies, vision of local actors, etc. So your application as a lead PI can answer as many questions as you like. Okay, you can choose to answer just one of those 4 big questions or 2 or 3. It's up to you and it's up to your research project. So there is no preferential questions. That is very important to know. Okay, now a few words about the procedure. So first, this is a one-stage procedure, okay? Then at the end, like I said, at the end of the submission period, there will be an eligibility check. That is a very important check. So in order to avoid any trouble, please make sure to check the global eligibility rules and the specific ones. They are all available on the SIOMPA webpage. So you will have to check it very carefully, okay? So each proposal must address global eligibility rules according to the call, and every specific requirement published in the relevant funders annex available on the website, okay? So that is very important for you to check those documents. Also, check the guidelines before apply. So check the instruction of proposal. That is very helpful for you to organize your proposal, okay? And it's obvious, but feel free to contact people if you have any question. There is many contact points in those documents, but there is also my contact, my email address as a call secretariat, so feel free to contact me. Here are the global eligibility rules. So each collaborative proposal must involve applicants from at least 3 different countries funding the call. Those countries are France, Kenya, Mozambique, South Africa, Tanzania. But in addition, Comoros, Madagascar, and Mauritius can request funds to Agence Française de Développement, to the AFD. Be aware that co-applicants from the same laboratory, research unit, or university cannot be considered as different partners, even if they are located in different territories, okay? So you can add some partners in-kind contribution, okay? In-kind contributions are welcome from third party, from countries, in addition to the funding countries, okay? So researchers, entities who are willing to contribute in kind to the proposed project will be considered part of the project consortium, okay, and will be requested to sign the consortium agreement later. Also, another point, a researcher can be involved as a project partner in maximum 2 proposals. So it means basically you can be involved as a co-PI in 2 proposal, or you can be a lead PI only in 1 proposal and a co-PI in another one, okay? Another point is the coordinator who lead the project must be part of an eligible entity for funding. That is, of course, very obvious. The project coordinator is in charge of submitting the proposal on the submission platform, and he or she shall specify the selected science questions on the submission website and ensure that the requested funding does not exceed the budgets if they are available indicated in the funder's guideline. Okay, so it's your responsibility as lead PI to check all that points. Maximum duration of any application is 48 months. And before the submission deadline, you will have to fully complete it, the online form, and drop your scientific document on that website too. So the scientific evaluation will be made by an international panel, and your application will be evaluated only on the following criteria. Those criteria are published on the call web page on the call text, so please check it. So there's basically three big criteria. So the first one is the scientific and technical quality of the proposal. So the scientific excellence with respect to the current state of the art, innovation level of the project and methods, the interdisciplinary approach, the integration of different disciplinary fields, etc. Second one is the quality of the consortium and feasibility. That is very important for such collaborative projects. So the quality and intentional competitiveness of participants in the field, the quality and the efficiency of the project management, quality of the consortium, the added values of potential stakeholders involved in your application, the feasibility of the project. So the feasibility is about human, technical, and financial resources. Also the cost efficiency of the project. So that means the appropriateness and justification of the requested funding, justification of investments and equipment purchases, basically justification of any financial items, okay? And also the probability of success of the project based on prescription of risk and contingency plan. And then the impact of your proposal, so that's the scientific impact, such as dissemination activities, scientific production, etc. And also expected impacts in terms of capacity building, such as mobility and or training action, education initiatives, or specific initiatives like on-field training, action supporting jobs, etc., including also non-academic in those concerned sectors. Okay, and that is also very important. But keep in mind that you will have to link your project with existing initiatives in the region and or program on the area, so the Southwest Indian Ocean. Then few words, kind of instruction for your proposal. So there is a doc, also that's the annexure 1, instruction of proposal. So please check it, please read it carefully, because there is many guidance about how to build your scientific document. So basically, please read all documents carefully, because you do not want to miss the eligibility check because of an administrative mistake, okay? So, because your project will be evaluated by an international panel, we strongly recommend it to write your proposal in English. And before your application, please check the submission platform and not the very last days, because it will take time to fill consortium information, partnership, drop your scientific documents, etc., etc. Okay, so basically check it as soon as possible. So you will see what kind of information we need for your application. Okay, so if you plan to submit a proposal to the JOSCOM, to this joint call, sorry, I strongly recommend to create your application in the next days. So a scientific document, 20 pages max. Do not forget to upload your CVs. That is very important. And you will see there is many information to fill online. So I guess we're fine for this presentation. So now it's time for your question as potential applicants to this call. So like I said, please write it in the chat box. We'll do our best to answer you right now. And if not, or if you need more precision, we can talk about that later by mail or something like that. Thank you.